Hi everyone, my name's Jordan and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do a video of the best sci-fi books I've read so far. I am pretty new to the sci-fi genre in general. The beginning of last year, I read To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini, which is on this list, but we'll get to that. And it kind of opened my eyes to the whole genre of sci-fi. I had a lot of preconceived notions about sci-fi. I thought it was just going to all be like Star Wars, which is not the case. When I read that book, it spurred this drive in me to go do a lot of astrophysics research. And I started reading all these nonfiction books about the science of space, about cosmology, about astrophysics, and all of the space sciences. And now I'm kind of obsessed with space. So I've learned that I like a very specific type of sci-fi. I'm not as into just futuristic Earth sci-fi. I'm more interested in space operas, space survival. I like hard science sci-fi. So yeah, I've read a few, I've read an AI sci-fi and it just didn't work for me. I think I very much so prefer just space sci-fi. So some of these are not hard sci-fi. I also like softer sci-fi. But all of these are set in space. So let's just get into it. So first up, I've already mentioned I have To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini. This book is written by the same person that wrote the Aragon series. So it was kind of a big surprise that he wrote this. It is a huge 850 page sci-fi book about the space expedition. It's obviously very far in the future. Humans have moved out into space, colonized space, and there's an alien species. I won't get too far into it, but this woman gets infected with this almost venom, Venom from Spider-Man, where she has this suit that kind of covers her entire body. And then she meets this alien species, blah blah blah, there's intergalactic war, blah blah blah. But this book is on this list because it's the one that really opened my eyes to space in general. I had always been kind of overwhelmed whenever thinking about space, but this book really opened my eyes to how cool science in space is. Astrophysics is so buck wild, and the way that physics works completely differently in space is just so bizarre to me, and I love learning about it. So this book really gets into a lot of the nitty-gritty of all of the science of space, and I really loved it. I also really liked the main character. I think that the meeting with the alien species is really cute. And just all of this book I felt was really done well. Again, being new to sci-fi, I don't know how this compares to a lot of other sci-fi. So most of the books on this list are just ones I've found that I've really liked so far, but I am no expert on sci-fi. So I really did enjoy this book. Next up is a softer sci-fi that kind of goes against everything I've said I liked previously, but I'll explain why. And that is Light from Uncommon Stars by Rika Aoki. This one is set on Earth, but since it's a softer sci-fi, I didn't mind. This book follows a woman who is a prolific violinist, and she makes a deal with the devil to train 7 people in the way of the violin and then convince them to also sell their soul. And in return, she will get notoriety. So she is on her 7th pupil. She's almost done. She has convinced 6 other people to sell their soul to the devil. And when she chooses this next student is very rough around the edges. She has not had the classical training. She doesn't come from money. She's very different from all of the other pupils that this woman has taken on. And where the sci-fi element comes in, besides just the deal with the devil, which is a little more fantastical, there's a family of aliens that owns a donut shop. So you kind of get them trying to evade intergalactic war by living on Earth, while also trying to help this woman and this girl in their personal explorations. One of the main focuses of this book is the fact that the newest pupil is a trans woman. So the teacher is trying very hard to get her to focus on violin. She tries to impress upon her that her gender does not matter when it comes to the violin, but she's also trying very hard to get her to accept herself for who she is, because not many people are. And it is just a beautiful book of self-exploration, self-discovery. The sci-fi elements are really fun. It sounds really weird, but it makes a lot of sense while you're reading it. It is just a really beautiful book. And I love a found family. They create a found family here. And it's just a really great book. It's also really funny, really fun, but it also gets really dark. I love this book. Like, just go read it. It's such a good book. Next up, I have one that I was uncertain if I should put it on this list, because I had some misgivings with it. And that is 7 Eves by Neal Stephenson. I just finished this book like 2 days ago. While I loved the beginning, I felt like the ending was off. So this book is about the moon exploding, and within 2 years starts raining down on Earth. So Earth has 2 years to get as many people into space as they can with the right equipment to survive for thousands of years. And what follows is a beautiful story of the human will to survive. And I thought that the first section of them getting into space, and then it goes on for about 5 years after that hard rain, when the moon rained down on Earth. I felt like that 7-year span was so expertly written. It was so well done, so science heavy. Like, do not read this book if you don't like space science, because the beginning felt like more science than book. Still, I loved it. I ate it up. And then we jump 5,000 years. And we see humanity, what humanity has become, and we see them trying to repopulate Earth and the political struggles that entails. And I loved up until the time jump. And then the time jump happened, and I just felt like it went in a weird direction. It wasn't bad. I just got bored a lot, and it was very hard to finish. But I've put it on this list because the first section was so amazing. And I think that some people would like the end of it. It just wasn't for me. But the first part of just humans trying to survive with what they have was so incredible to read. There were twists and turns that I did not see coming. The stakes were so high. Like, it was, and Neal Stephenson did not pull any punches. And I love that. So I highly recommend this book, at least for the first part. I almost feel like you can just read to the time jump and stop reading, and it's still a well-read book. But you do want to know what's going on afterwards. Like, seeing that, like, where it just says 5,000 years later, your heart kind of goes, whoa. So you're going to want to read it. But I do still think this is an expertly crafted book. The research that must have gone into this is astronomical. No pun intended. But anyway, very good book. Next up, I have another kind of softer sci-fi, and that is Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. This is a story about a man who's kind of like a partier, and another man whose husband has just died. And they are kind of paired together to have this political marriage. And they both have a lot of preconceived notions about each other, and they're trying to prevent this space war, this interplanetary war that is being threatened. And so it's just kind of them exploring their relationship and trying to figure out if they can even be friends, like how this is all going to work, while also trying to prevent a huge war. And I just think this book was so fun. It was very interesting to read. Basically, it's a romance book set in space, and that was very interesting to me in the best way. I really, really enjoyed reading this book. Everina Maxwell just announced another book, which I think is going to be along the same vein, but not set. It's not like a sequel or anything. And I'm very excited for it. I think that this book was really well done. The sci-fi elements didn't distract from the romance, but the romance also didn't, like, make the sci-fi elements feel useless. Like, all of it worked really well together. I felt like it was all just really beautiful. And I highly recommend it to people that do like romance and do like sci-fi. I think it's a really expertly crafted blend of the two. You knew it was coming. You knew it was coming. Gideon the Ninth. This is probably my favorite book / series on this list. This book is more like sci-fantasy. It's kind of a blend of science and fantasy. It is set in space, but it's about necromancers. So we've kind of got like a mixture there, which I think works beautifully. I've talked about this book non-stop on this channel since I reread Gideon and then read Harrow. This series is a masterpiece, and I'm so excited for Nona the Ninth. Basically, this story is about, it's really confusing, so I'm going to try to explain it, and it's probably going to make no sense, and that's kind of perfect, because that's the vibe of the books. It's about these 9 houses that are, I believe, on different planets, and they are all told by God that they should all go to the first house and compete to become lictors, which are these like super powerful beings that protect and fight with God. And so Gideon is an orphan that lives on this planet, on the 9th house, and Harrow is the daughter of the rulers of the 9th house, and so she wants to become a lictor, but she has to have a cavalier, which is basically a bodyguard, and the cavalier of the 9th house is a coward and doesn't want to go. So she enlists Gideon, who reluctantly goes. She's basically told she has to go, and they hate each other, but they must pretend that they have been working together forever. And what follows is this very confusing, dark plot of Harrow trying to become a lictor. And it is amazing. Amazing. Like, you just have to read it to really get it, because me explaining it isn't doing it justice. This here says the most fun you'll ever have with a skeleton. The second book, Harrow the Ninth, says the necromancers are back and they're gayer than ever. So like that sold it for you right there, I'm sure. This series is great. Harrow the Ninth is one of the best books I've read this year. Overall, incredible series. Highly recommend. Next up, I have On a Sunbeam by Tilly Walden. This is a graphic novel that I read last year and really loved. It is so adorable. It is set in space. This one's a little more softer sci-fi as well. It is about this young girl who lives in space, and the artwork is really stunning. I just loved like this whole story. It's very unique. It's centered around younger. It's like geared towards a younger audience, but it deals with some really darker adult themes. And I just think it's a beautiful book. I love graphic novels. I think they're a lot of fun. And this is probably the only, I believe the only sci-fi graphic novel I've read, and I loved it. So give me some recommendations for more graphic novels. Or no, I read Saga, which is like another sci-fi graphic novel set. Saga's good too. Anyway, On a Sunbeam is beautiful. Illustrations are beautiful. The storyline is adorable. It's just one book. It's not a series. It's a pretty big book, but I read it in one sitting. It's so good, so I highly recommend. Next up is one that is on a lot of lists right now, and that is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This is the same author that wrote The Martian, which became obviously the huge movie. This is a book that just came out last year, I believe, or possibly the year before, and it is so wholesome. It is one of my favorite tropes, humanity trying to survive in space. Basically, there's this organism that is siphoning energy from Earth's sun, and in turn, it is siphoning this energy so quickly that Earth is going to start rapidly cooling. And so humanity is like, we have to stop this, but we don't even know what it is. So they look out into space and they see that like a bajillion light years away, I don't think it's actually that long, I think it's a manageable amount of light years, but a certain amount of light years away, there is another planet experiencing this, where their sun is siphoning energy, or where their sun is being siphoned for energy. So they send an expedition out to go to this planet and figure out what's going on and report back how to stop it. So this man wakes up with no memories, and everyone on the ship is dead. And he's slowly gaining his memory back of why he's in space, what he's doing here, all of that. So he gets to this solar system, and there's another ship there. And what he finds is an alien who is also trying to figure out what is going on, because his planet is also experiencing this. And what happens is this like beautiful friendship that buds between the two. I've heard some criticisms about the science involved with all of this, and I don't care, because I think that the story is so cute and so well written that like I can suspend some of my disbelief. Like I can suspend some of my more analytical, science-driven brain to enjoy this wonderful story. The friendship they strike up is beautiful. What they do to survive is really fun. I just really love reading about humans surviving in space, and that's what this is. Only there's also an alien creature there too. And I love, love, love this book. I highly recommend it. It is one that everyone talks about as a really good book. So like I'm just kind of like preaching to the choir, but it is very good. Highly recommend. So that is a little glimpse into my sci-fi journey so far. I haven't read a whole lot of sci-fi yet. This isn't all of them. This is just my favorites of the ones I've read. But I'm very interested in science fiction. I really love space operas. I'm currently reading Empire of Silence as a read-along with a group of people on a Discord called the Grimoire. I will link the 4 creators of that down below, so definitely check them out. But this whole journey I'm going on of this like sci-fi discovery, it has been so fun, and it's really surprising to me because I did not think that sci-fi would be something I would love. So please comment down below and give me some more sci-fi recommendations, preferably ones that are along these similar veins. I like hard sci-fi, I like space operas. I typically lean more towards more like modern stories. A lot of the old school sci-fi I found it either is like political in a weird way, or there's a lot of misogyny, or just weird stuff goes on. So for the most part, I prefer like more modern hard sci-fi, but I'm open to suggestions. So let me know down below some great sci-fis I should check out. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you would like to be notified every time I post a new video. Thank you for your support. As always, it means the world to me, and until next time, thanks.